day I will never forget. And I think everybody knows why. They know what I'm talking about. And it's this. I never thought I would have, as Eric Trump said, 150,000 people sing me happy birthday on the National Mall. Yes, it was Eric Trump's birthday yesterday. That's a day I'll never forget. That's pretty much the biggest news that happened yesterday, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah.
Well, the thing
I
is,
don't blame you for
I'll never
hiding from
forget
the
it.
news, but
I'll never forget it because there weren't 150,000 people there. So even his son lies about his numbers for crowds on the mall. But yeah, Eric was excited about it. I'm excited about it because the 6th of January is the day that Donald Trump finally remembered his son's birthday. And he got him a great big birthday cake with lots of candles, which we can see right here. That's right. It was all for you, Eric. It was all for you. Just keep telling yourself that, and then remind yourself that Daddy doesn't know who you are.
wow. Imagine trying to blow that out, make a wish. Ooh.
Well, they tried to blow up something. Obviously, I'm talking about the siege of the U.S. Capitol. Probably one of the darkest days in American history in my lifetime. I told Steve I might be slightly sincere during this. It was awful yesterday. I've lived in the UK for 20 years. I've seen stuff happen in America that's bad. Like I watched 9/11 from here. I've seen obviously this happen from here. I've seen the rise of the Kardashians from here. I've seen some dark days in the United States. Yesterday wasn't supposed to be like that. I mean, there's always been like, oh, there's going to be riots if Trump loses. And he's going to, he always is stirring people's talk up and everything else. But especially what the point of yesterday was one of the most boring days in the American governance. It's basically where nothing is decided. It's just kind of saying, yes, this is the result of the election. They brought together, because the people vote in November. They count the actual electoral votes in December. They're certified by the states at that time. They're done and dusted, and they just have time, because this was written in the time of horses and carriages, to ride the votes to the Capitol. And that's literally why they do it. And, and then they open them up and they read them. They can't change them. They can't do anything else about them. It's just, usually this is how exciting that day is right here. You can be surrounded by lots of people and you could still fall asleep. It's usually boring as fuck. But yesterday, it was more like this.
Oh.
I don't know if you can see a little ice pour down the back, because that's what it felt like to be an American yesterday who's not a traitor. Just like, whoa, this shit is cold. Trump's been building up his followers into a frenzy and lying to them, getting them to only listen to media that he believes to, stirring up false claims about the election. And then he would say, because he said that they're false claims, then people would go, oh, have you heard about the false claims? Like, yeah, because you fucking made them up. Now, it's easy to laugh at this when it happens, because if you look, because it's America, and look at some of the people that were in the Capitol yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
That's not someone you can generally take seriously, is it? I mean, I can admire his six-pack, but it's just the stupid hick American dipshits that have been listening to him and not paying any attention to the fact that he's clearly lying to them and he doesn't care about you. But there were serious moments yesterday, like when you see this happening in the capital of the United States of America.
Ooh.
That's the Confederate flag.
Dukes
This isn't
of
somebody
Hazzard.
that's just a big fan of Dukes of Hazzard. As you mentioned, that's not what that represents. You know that, right?
Is it?
No. This is the flag that represents a group of states that rebelled against the United States. It's the flag of traitors to the United States of America. The Republican Party was started fighting the Civil War to beat that flag. And that's the party that Donald and these people are supposed to represent. Even though I've been here for 20 years and I have a British passport and I don't know if it's possible to explain that sense of shock as an American to see maybe because we're programmed, maybe because we're indoctrinated, but I still do you feel that patriotic about anything, Steve, being British? No. I know you don't, because one of the biggest holidays that you have here in the UK is celebrating this guy.
Oh, yeah.
Fox.
It's a nice night, yeah.
You celebrate the fact it's the biggest fireworks night of the year, celebrating the fact that somebody 200 or 300 odd years ago tried to blow up your government.
Yeah. It's a nice night, isn't it? You get like
We've got
chestnuts.
people marching in the Capitol, and I was in tears. And you got, yeah, let's celebrate this every November. Seems like a good idea.
Hey, just don't judge us until like next January. Like, oh, should we go and have a nice night out because of what happened last year?
No. I mean, hopefully we can go out next year, but that's a different thing altogether. So where did this all start from, other than the rhetoric that Donald Trump has said since he came down that escalator 5 years ago? So on the day, so normally when they're doing the votes, Trump had put a lot of pressure on Mike Pence because ceremonially, Mike Pence is the vice president, president of the Senate. I don't know why. It was back in the day when they wrote the Constitution. They had very little to do. There was no TikTok. So he was there reading out the votes of the winner. That's what he's meant to do. That's his constitutional duty. He can't change anything about it. Trump decides to have a rally to counter that. And he'd been pressurizing Mike Pence. He'd been pressurizing his fellow Republicans. And at the end of the rally, he was very specific. And this is what he was saying.
We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I love Pennsylvania Avenue. We're going to try and give them the kind of pride and boldness that they need to take back our country.
So he had a speech a mile down from the Capitol where the White House is and said, we're going to go down there and we're going to stand up for our rights. And there are other people that spoke before him. Giuliani was there talking about combat. Donald Trump Jr. was there, possibly. His father wasn't sure. And basically said, we're going to march down there. And Trump even said in another part of the speech, I'm going to go with you. What they did do is they went backstage. And we know that because John Jr. published this.
Just awesome patriots that are sick of the bullshit. So thank you all for that.
They all went backstage where they had some TVs and media screens, and Don Jr. and the rest of the family were watching the patriots start to head down Pennsylvania Avenue, headed towards the Capitol. And we know the president was watching because Don Jr. showed us that as well. Now notice how close Ivanka was to Donald, and Donald Jr.'s like, I'm over here, Dad, I'm over here. But there's that. Basically, you can see it. He was watching a TV screen. So he was basically there, like Nero watching Rome burn, playing the fiddle. Only Donald Trump can't play the fiddle because of his bone spurs. It's just, the whole thing is sad. It's sad for the country. It's a personal tragedy for Donald Jr., which we can see in this bit.
That is
How desperate is he for the love of his father? And we know that Donald Trump, his father, is messed up because of his father issues. And now we got Don Jr. to look forward to with his daddy issues. I mean, look at, there's a still of that clip there. Look at that. Look at that smile. Like there's Dad. Like, I'm next to Dad. Dad. Oh, Ivanka's there next to Dad.
It is a great smile, isn't it? That kind of.
Look at. Can you see that Dad's there? Can you see that he's there? He really does love me. He really does. So basically, before we play this final clip, it was after it was done, and we've seen the videos of the Capitol being taken over. They eventually cleared the Capitol. They were able to bring all of the Congress people back to finish the certification of the vote. There were some Republicans who actually were going to stretch the day out and try and pretend like they could change it. They were chastened, some of them. Ted Cruz is still a dick. And finally, at 3:30 in the a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the people's work was done.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Joseph R. Biden, Jr. of the state of Delaware has received 306 votes. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 232 votes. The announcement of the state of the vote by the President of the Senate shall be deemed a sufficient declaration of the persons elected President and Vice President of the United States, each for the term beginning on the 20th day of January, 2021.
There it is.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, it's over. And fuck you, you loser.